This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, May 1st, only on Netflix.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Not everyone is careful with your personal information, which might explain why there's a victim of identity theft every 5 seconds in the US. Fortunately, there's LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats to your identity. If your identity is stolen, a US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year by visiting lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Okay, it's 101 Part-Time Jobs. Sometimes when we've had a busy week, I just don't want to stop. So I do the opposite of that and I keep on going. And I like doing these stop and chat episodes where I call someone up, hear their best and worst work stories, and find out what's going on in their lives. So in today's stop and chat, we got Låpsley. Her new album, I'm a Hurricane, I'm a Woman in Love, is out now. You should go buy it from your local record store, stream it, go see her on tour, and hear her on this stop and chat on 101 Part-Time Jobs.
What's interesting is when they first sent the email through about this podcast, I was like, I've only ever had this job. So I came into the industry at 17. And yet I've never done so many jobs in my entire life. I now run the label that I then release out of.
Yeah.
And it's so funny talking about myself in third person in a meeting.
Do you have to be like the hard ass when you're the manager and then you're the artist where, you know, you have to stay quiet sometimes? I mean, you're basically being like a multi-personality person there.
Yeah, 100%. It's giving KPIs. It's giving tax. Like, it's giving corporate baddie.
Do you have different hairstyles for it?
I mean, I think the glasses, I feel like I'm in business mode now, just like catching a glimpse of myself with the glasses on. But it was funny because my team are in America. So I'm like Låpsley in the day or songwriter, depending on what. Yeah, because I also work as a writer. That's the thing. And that's how I then fund my label.
Okay. So you write for other people?
Yeah, that's kind of that's my main job. But the illusion is that Låpsley is the main thing. However, it is impossible to run a label without money. And that's how I make money. So it could have been any other job. However, I decided like 5 years ago, I remember going to my publishers and I was just like, I've always wanted to be a songwriter. And they were like, every artist says that. I was like, well, I do write and produce everything. I'm going to give it a go. Obviously, lockdown hit. And then I just like scrabbled to get every single session I could with like friends and hit up everyone. And then slowly over the course of the year, started to like build a portfolio. And in my head, I was like, look, even if this is like an up and coming artist and the song goes nowhere, if I've done a good job and the manager of that artist sees and hears that the artist has felt empowered and like the song is of a high level, they manage other people who are bigger than that artist. And slowly the name came around of like, that's a trusted person you can go to get the job done. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up getting a Charli XCX cut, which is massive. And that was like, yeah, that was one of those sessions. And then signed a publishing deal and got new management for me as a songwriter, completely separate. So that's like 3-4 years ago now.
Which Charli XCX tune is that?
It's called Out Out.
Okay.
It's with Joel Corey.
Yeah.
It's like as complex as Låpsley is, there's a basic side to me.
Dude,
Like
that's not basic.
I love it. I mean, that song is basic, but like in a hot way.
So then how does it work? You're in this session, like you write this song, you send it about, you're sending off the Dropbox links.
Oh no, I was in a session with Joel Corey. So I was sent in as a writer with Joel Corey. And then they were like, let's bring Charli XCX on.
Step by step, how does it then happen?
Well, do you know what's funny? Like when you look on Spotify at all the writers on the track, I'm like, they weren't in the room. How on earth did that happen? But it was like me and another top liner, and there was like 3 producers in the room. And we're just like top lining, which is like writing the lyrics and the melody to all of the instrumentals that they were bringing. So we must have done like 4 ideas that day.
Top lining's like, that's the... I don't know, I've got Emily Sandé in my mind, but like that's the top line is like the next to me. That's the top line. The top line is what is the main melody you hear.
It's melody. Like if you play a chord and I go hee hee, that's the top line.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, you're just making it up as you go along. And that is my entire job, basically.
Brilliant. Your job is being a kid as an adult. That's great.
Yeah, just like doing a little tune over the top, like whistling over whatever the producer brings in.
You have done some sex work, as in sex party work, I should say.
Yeah.
What was your introduction into that? And are you happy to talk about it?
Yeah, for sure. I came out a few years ago, and with that came a lot of like changes in my life. And reading about queer theory and expanding my friendship group and just feeling, I guess, turning what was like shame in my teenage years into a celebratory part of me. And I think working in the queer community was a huge part of that change and self-acceptance. So yeah, I basically, we trained and then helped in the playroom within in a queer sex party. So that's making sure informed consent is being practiced, that everyone's safe. Yeah. Sometimes it's handing out condoms. Sometimes it's telling people to leave. Sometimes it's having a educated eye over the situation to keep everyone safe. Mm-hmm. And what's funny is my auntie told me a few years ago that her first like voluntary role when she was like 18 years old was handing out condoms during the AIDS epidemic in Liverpool. And there's just like this weird like full circle when we sat down at Christmas the other year and just like talked about our experiences of like working in the community and how it came from us came from a similar place. It was interesting.
It's about people and community and people communicating and listening to their desires.
Yeah, exactly. And I love people and I love the queer community that I'm in, and it just really suited me. And it's a dance floor, it's a party, so I managed to have a bit of like an hour of dancing and like 4 hours of work throughout the night.
Yeah.
It was good. And also there's like a huge kink scene, which obviously crosses over with the queer scene. Mm-hmm. And the party that I worked was like a queer kink night. But I think, there's certain parties which are like geared around music, like the one I went to, and they happen to have a playroom. But then other parties, like you're going for like a specific kind of hookup or kink. There's like, each one is tailored to everyone's specific needs.
Yeah.
Like we weren't allowed like impact play. So you wouldn't have someone punching another person.
Impact play?
Yeah, there's like limits to...
Yeah, you gotta have rules.
Yeah, like you can have a spank, but you're not going to be punching someone in the playroom. Like that's not acceptable in our party.
Yeah.
And it was for up to us to like gauge the line. Anyway, but my many jobs.
That's good. You got this new record out. I'm a Hurricane, I'm a Woman in Love. Sounds great. Yeah. What is there? If there's something you want to look back on about this time in your life, what would you just be stoked to be like? Yeah, I did that.
In some ways, my career kind of peaked when I was like 19. Not like, and that was kind of decided for me in a way that I've been. It's been so difficult to like reestablish yourself on your terms when the way that you're seen as an artist is dictated by the release that had the most amount of money behind it. So therefore was like the most successful across the board.
And that was your debut on XL, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which like I love, but like I'd only been like writing and producing for 2 years. So compared to like 11, 12 years in the industry now, I feel like if you compare the albums, it's like, why is that one minimal and that one's, you know, got more depth to it? And it's like, oh, time. But I won the award at South by Southwest in 2016, I think it was. It's called the Grok Prize. And it was me and Iggy Pop. So Iggy Pop won Best Act in the US and I won Best Act Outside.
No way.
And I got a Texas Longhorn tattoo, which was funny.
What does it mean? What does grok mean?
No idea. I probably should have researched that.
Good stuff. Thank you, Holly. Good chat.
Thank you.
I think maybe a good way to end is what's the funniest work gaff that you've made? And obviously you work in music, you do what you do, but what's like a good memorable gaff that you've made over the years?
What does gaff mean?
Gaff means like mistake, like little fuck up.
Oh, that's so funny because it means house in Liverpool.
Oh yeah, I mean gaff as well here. This is gaff
good.
with an E.
I was on Scandinavian TV and they asked me if I was from Scandinavia and I lied and said yes because I didn't feel worthy to be there. But another random job that I wanted to add was like I trained as a doula and helped teenagers give birth in between the first and second album, which is quite niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a very colourful life. I'm only 28. Alas, when I got that email, I was like, I've actually never had any other job, but if I dig deep, it's littered with strange things.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.